Welcome to CPA Exam Lab, your trusted resource for mastering the CPA exam. If you're preparing for the FAR section, understanding the balance sheet and statement of financial position is absolutely critical. This foundational topic appears throughout the exam in multiple choice questions, simulations, and task-based scenarios. Today, we're breaking down everything you need to know to confidently tackle these questions on exam day. If you find this helpful, make sure to subscribe for more CPA exam tips, strategies, and content that will help you pass with confidence. Let's dive in.
Hello everyone, welcome to CPA Exam Lab. Today we are going to discuss about balance sheet and the statement of financial position. This is one of the first topics, if not the first topic, we all study when we start preparing for the FAR section of the CPA exam. It is a very common form, we all know about it. Today I'm going to give you some examples, some of the multiple choice questions or simulations where they can come from. And also show you some of the exam traps you might encounter. Let's get started. Okay, the balance sheet, also called the statement of financial position, gives us a financial snapshot of a company. This document shows the financial condition at a specific point in time. Sometimes in the exam, especially in simulations, you may not get the whole information, but the document, it may show you something like December 31st or at specific point of time. This is the balance sheet. That's the biggest difference between the income statement. That this is the one other very common statement they like to test. For the income statement, it covers the period on time. So what does balance sheet cover? It gives us three things. So balance sheet basically tells us what the company owns, our assets, our liabilities, what the company owes, and the remainder, which is the equity. This is basically the financial equation you may all remember. The first thing we all learn, assets equal liabilities plus equity. So basically the balance sheet shows this, and the name balance comes from the accounting equation. Everything has to balance. Everything on the balance sheet is driven by this equation. This is the first thing we learn. Assets are equals to liabilities plus stockholders' equity. One trivia information, this is not going to be asked in the exam, but you might question, where does this double entry bookkeeping is coming from? So it is actually coming from Renaissance era. Mathematician called Luca Pacioli. He writes a book, and there's a chapter in his book that talks about double entry bookkeeping. The logic is every transaction affects at least two accounts. So we can give an example here. So let's say we have a company, and in our company we have our assets, they are equals to 100K, and we have 70K liabilities, and our equity, the remainder is the 30K. So let's say we purchased a car and we got a loan for that. So what happens is we bought an asset, let's say it's worth $50,000. Our asset increased to 50,000, so it became 150. But because we got it as a loan, our liability also increased 50K, so our liability became 120, and the remainder equity is also 30. Another example, let's say maybe we got $40,000 of that car as a loan and $10,000, like we used our own money. Then the equity this time it would be 110. And this would be 4. So in the end, everything is going to balance. Now let's move into the definitions. This is one area that the exam likes to ask. So it is very unlikely that you are going to get a question about the accounting equation, but you might very likely get a question about the definition of assets, liabilities, and equity. And for this one, they usually question the specific terms, the definition. So here we have SFHC 6 definition, assets. So what is an asset? Basically, assets is a probable future economic benefits obtained or controlled by a particular entity as a result of past transaction or events. I have an accent. I hope hearing it is not very boring for you, but I'm going to split into several groups. So, what does it mean? Or the question would be, what is considered an asset? What do we need to look in order to say, okay, this thing is an asset? So, there are a couple things we need to look at. Number one, the asset must give us a probable future benefits. For example, in the earlier example, I said we bought a car for $50,000. The car gives a benefit for the company. Here we say probable because maybe there's going to be a theft tomorrow or the day we purchased the car. It's not going to happen, but if we run the balance sheet at night, it is going to be on our books. The second thing is control. Pay attention here because control is key. If we bought a car for $50,000 and we got a loan for it, the legal ownership is still with the bank or whomever gave us the loan. But it is still our asset because we obtained it. We control it even though we do not have the legal ownership. The third thing must result from a past transaction or event. This is the one they like to trick you. So let's talk about the executory contracts. So those are the contracts where neither party has performed. Because no past transaction has occurred yet, this is not considered an asset. Okay, so let's go to the liabilities. Liabilities also has a definition. They are probable future sacrifices of economic benefits arising from present obligations of a particular entity to transfer assets or provide services. What are those? So we have a probable future sacrifice. What does it mean? And either give up an asset, which is a cash, or provide a service. This is an unavoidable obligation. This has no discretion to avoid the sacrifice. This creates an obligation that has already occurred. You can always check the date of the underlying transaction. Based on this, you can see if a present obligation exists. Let's say you receive an invoice for services on December 28th. You have a liability on December 31st, even though you do not pay it until January. This is something you might see in the simulations. Always check the documents of the dates. Okay, let's look at the third piece, which is the equity. It's the residual interest. It's a key definition from the SFIC, which they like to test. Shareholders only have a claim on the company's assets after all the creditors have been paid off. The residual nature is why creditors have priority over shareholders during liquidation. Equity is not a primary claim, it is always secondary to liability. This reinforces the equation we discussed earlier. There are three different ways the balance sheet can be presented, and the CPA exam likes to question you that. What are those? The number one is the account form. This one you may remember from your books. Here we have the assets on the left, liabilities and equity on the right. This almost looks like a T account. Number two is the report form. This is the most common form that we all see on the exam. Also, if any of you work in the tax business or to clients, this is the one the accounting software prints out. And the third option is the financial position one. This one is more used by the IFRS, International Financial Standards. So basically, this one starts with calculating the net working capital and emphasizes liquidity and solvency. Like this is less likely you would see on the exam, but sometimes they like you to do conversions between international standards to the gap. Okay, so the account form, this is the classic horizontal presentation. It visually reinforces the accounting equation because you can see on the left-hand side assets, liabilities, and equity on the right-hand side. This is great for teaching fundamentals. That's why you may remember this from your accounting textbook. But it is not very commonly used for the financial statements because of the space constraints. This version of presenting is not less than the other formats, but like the usually gap, we prefer the second one. This one is an exam tip. If you're ever asked to verify if a balance sheet is correct, you can quickly create and verify everything. The report form is this is the standard one. You may be very familiar with this one. It basically lists all the assets first, then we calculate the total, then list the liabilities and shareholders' equity. Here you can also see that everything balances. Do you see that everything is still the same, just the presentation changed? One exam tip for this form: if they do not specify, you can assume that they want you to use this form because this is the most common one. Okay, now let's go to the third one, the most analytical format is the financial position form. If you stop and analyze it, you can see that it immediately highlights the company's liquidity. Basically start by calculating the net working capital, which is the current assets minus the current liabilities. This is crucial for the short-term health of the company. Then we non-current assets and subtract non-current liabilities to arrive the total net assets. Here the key takeaway is that the total net assets must equal stockholders' equity. This format shows how the company's long-term capital structure supports its operation. The exam may use this form to test your understanding of working capital. So the final figure, the total asset, is basically another way of expressing the residual interest of the owners. Now we are done with the formats. Let's dive into the specific classification rules for assets, and let's start with the current assets. Okay,